Now, the topic of the workshop which I gave for this morning, for my workshop, is way of replenishment. Is that what it is? The way of replenishment? Yes? Because sometimes I forget the title I give 6 months before the workshop to take place, and then suddenly you have to remember what was the title. But I remember for this conference it was the way of replenishment. Now I think the way of replenishment idea fits in very well together with what Mani was talking this morning. In India, in the Indian philosophy, we have 3 words. There are 3 ways of replenishment. One is to replenish the earth, soil. Soil represents the earth. The second is to replenish the soul. And the third is to replenish the society. So I use these 3 words: soil, soul, and society. By using these 3 dimensions of our existence, we are able to bring all aspects of our life together in one whole. Soul and soil come from the same sound. If we cannot look after and take care of the soil, we will not be able to take care of the soul. Sometimes people think that there is a dichotomy between the soul and the soil. Dichotomy between the action in the world and action to enrich your spiritual life. Some people will say, oh, I'm too busy working to save the planet, for Greenpeace, taking action, for Friends of the Earth, for many, many other conservation organizations, Green Party, political action. I have no time for all these wishy-washy spiritual ideas. Who has time to go and sit down and meditate when world is urgently needs our action to save it? The other group would say, oh no, that's all waste of time. You cannot change the world. Only thing you can do is to change yourself. And therefore, I will go and live in a community and learn to meditate and do yoga and pray. A little bit of like monastic tradition of the old. Now, I was in that sphere of life. When I was 9 years old, I became a monk, a Jain monk. And the idea was to keep your back towards the world and your face towards God. The world is a trap, and you want to get rid of it. And the idea came to me why I should become a monk, because when I was 4 years old, my father died. And that was quite a shock. His dead body lying, covered with flowers, and my mother crying, taking all her jewelry off her body, changing her beautiful, colorful saris into a white mourning sari. And I was running, I remember, running between my mother and my father's dead body. What happened? I asked my mother. Your father is dead, mother said. What is dead? He's never going to come back. He's never going to hold your finger or hand and walk with you. Is that going to happen to everybody? Are you, mother, going to die? Yes, my son, I'm also going to die. And quite soon, because I'm getting old. Am I going to die? Yes, my son, you are also going to die. My brothers, my sisters, all my friends, playmates, everybody's going to die. Yes, like my father lying there, unmoving, we are all going to be like that. Yes. Now remember, a child of 4-year-old I was at that time. And this very profound and very deep discussion taking place when my father's body is just lying in state outside with my mother. And from that very age, I started to question. And this quest to find what is death and can we be free of death. And I used to go to the monks, the Jain monks, and they said that only way to be free of death is also to be free of birth. Because if you are born, you have to die. Where there is a life, there is a death. There are two sides of the same coin. But by continuous life after life, of many lives of continuous spiritual practice, you may be able to be free of this continuous cycle of death and birth, what in India we call samsara. And that was intriguing. That appealed to me. And I got very excited. And I became a monk at the age of 9. And I'm glad to say that I became a monk and my mother did not stop me. And that was very good. She did not think that, oh, you are only 9-year-old. You don't know what you are doing, becoming a monk at this early age. She respected a child's decision as much as she would respect an adult's decision. For my mother, a child was not an undeveloped adult. Always we adults think, oh, children are just children. They don't understand, they don't know what is what. We all experienced people know it, which is a total folly. Children sometimes know better. They are uncontaminated, unconditioned, unpolluted in their minds. They have very fresh, very clear perception, which sometimes adults don't have, because we are brainwashed. Just imagine from the age of 5, we go to the school. What are we pushed through in our school life? Like a sausage machine, brainwashing with stale knowledge, nothing fresh, stale knowledge of materialistic, consumeristic, reductionistic, job-oriented education. From 5, we go to the primary school, to the secondary school, to the college, to the universities. We come out of the university already planned life. You finish your college, find a job, get married, have mortgage, and you are tied for the rest of your life. Enslaved. We live as if the meaning of life was to serve the building societies. As if the meaning of life was to keep the bank managers happy and the telephone and the electricity bills managers happy. But children have a much greater sense. Children like I, at the age of 9, had sense to understand what is death and what is life. And so I said to my mother, I want to become a monk. And I became. And for 9 years, I remained a monk. But the relevance of what I was saying came at that time. I read a book by Mahatma Gandhi. Mani's father was a great colleague of Mahatma Gandhi. I never met Mahatma Gandhi, but I read a book in which he was saying that this dichotomy, that religion is only for the saints Only the pure, saintly people can practice religion in the monasteries. And the world we have to live in is too bad. We cannot practice religion. We have to be pragmatic, we have to be practical, we have to be worldly, and we have to do things as they are done in the world. Gandhi was saying that my aim in life is to bridge this gap, this duality, this division between religion and the world, between spirituality and politics. I want to make politics spiritual. I want to make commerce spiritual. I want to make farming spiritual. I want to make work spiritual. Now you can imagine at the age of 18, reading these challenging ideas and reflecting on my monastic order, where solitude, meditation, prayer, connecting with God so that I can be free of death and life. And here Gandhi was saying that the world is not a trap. Like Mani was showing those wonderful pictures, this beautiful earth, greatest work of art ever made. It's not a trap. We can make it sacred. It is sacred. Earth is sacred. In India we say, holy river of Ganges. What does it mean? All rivers, all waters are holy and sacred. We say, mountain of Himalaya, Kailash is sacred. What does it mean? It means that all mountains, everywhere in the world, are holy and sacred. Higher you go on the top of the mountain, closer you are to the heavens, literally. Closer you are to the heavens, the fresh air you breathe there, away from all the telephone calls and fax machines. All mountains are sacred. We say holy cow. What does it mean? All creatures in the world, every insect is holy and sacred. All 36,000 gods and goddesses live in the tail of a cow, in the wing feathers of a bird, in the hair of a monkey. So that sense of the sacred, unless we can develop that, Gandhi was saying, we cannot take care of this earth. Because nowadays our scientists and politicians, like I was in Rio at this Earth Summit conference, 128 heads of governments gathered there, but living in old consciousness, thinking that nature is out there, somewhere away from us, separate from us. We can manipulate it, we can manage it, we can organize it, perhaps slightly manage better, like a factory manager can manage slightly better. We can manage nature so that it can continue to benefit humankind. That is the old consciousness. Not old, if you go the ancient consciousness, which Gandhi was talking about. He was saying the real old, ancient, traditional consciousness is that earth is sacred. The moment you have that new attitude towards the earth, you cannot pollute it. You cannot destroy it. You cannot deplete it, because it is sacred. It is the home of gods. How can you disfigure it? As we believe in the sanctity of human life, we believe in the sanctity of nature. If human life is sacred, why not tree life is sacred? Why not river life is sacred? We cannot kill a human being. Well, how can we kill a tree? So with that attitude, Gandhi was talking that you cannot create this division between the world and religion, between action and spirituality. I was moved. I was absolutely moved. And I said, I must do something. I cannot live in this monastic closed order. But once you are a monk forever. A Jain monk cannot leave monastery because you have made your vow for the rest of your life. So one night, after midnight, when everybody was asleep, I ran away. And as far as I could go. And there I joined a Gandhian community, an ashram. And ashram was run by a great man called Vinoba Bhave. He established this ashram. He was a great follower of Mahatma Gandhi. And he made a rule for this ashram, this community. It was a very beautiful rule. He said that in the Samanvaya ashram, where I lived, in Bodh Gaya, in this ashram, no member need to work for more than 4 hours a day. No more than 4 hours a day. Because if you work all the time, then you have no time for anything else. Just you are working to earn living. Recently at Schumacher College, we had a visit from the regional manager of Southwest of Barclays Bank. And when we were talking, he said, the senior executives of the Barclays Bank have to work 16 hours a day. And when it is weekend comes, they take their suitcase full of files and papers to read over the weekend. I said, you call it advanced civilization? You call it progress? You call it development? You call that you are rich and powerful? You get £50,000 salary, but you have not a minute for yourself. You are slave to your papers and your telephone and your desk. And I told him this story of Vinoba's ashram, that you need to work only 4 hours a day. Wouldn't you like to have that kind of civilization here? Vinoba said, there are 2 reasons why I want 4 hours only to work. One is that if everyone did their share of bread labor, all the work will be done within 4 hours. Some people have to work too many long hours for their bread labor because other people don't do anything. So everybody should share part of the work. So that's one. The second reason, he said, is that you have to learn to live within what you have been able to earn in those 4 hours. So if you have to go without an extra pair of shoes or extra pair of trousers or extra pair of something, hi-fi or Sony or radio or television or fax machine or something, better to do without those machines and those gadgets and those possessions than not have time. Now that is the replenishment of the soul. So I learned this idea that the soil and the soul come from the same sound and same root. And therefore, we have to understand that we have come from the earth and we will return to the earth. And therefore, earth is something that we have to learn to replenish. And we always have to take something from the earth. We take food from the earth, we take our clothes from the earth, we make buildings and houses and take from the earth. Always take. If we do not replenish it, it will be eroded. There will be soil erosion, there will be resource depletion. So what is in Hindu language is called yajna. Yajna means replenishment of the earth. You do yajna every day. So you do Shramdan Yajna, Bhudan Yajna, Sutradan Yajna, all those yajna. My friend Naresh there sitting will understand these concepts because he is also my colleague of old days from the Gandhian movement. Now that yajna means replenishment of the earth. Every day you perform yajna. Ashoka, the great Buddhist emperor in India, passed a decree and put it on the Ashoka stupas, the stone stupas, because in those days people did not have books and newspapers and radio and television to spread the news. What was his decree? That every citizen of India should plant 5 trees and look after them, take care of them, and see them to maturity. And only thing they are not allowed to do is to cut them down. You have planted your trees for the future generations. You may be allowed to take a tree if you really need from the plantation which your parents or grandparents, your ancestors have planted. But you cannot cut down your own planted tree. Now that is replenishment of the earth. If you take one tree, plant 5 trees. That is yajna. That is yajna. Like if you go in somebody's house, you say that, can I come and stay in your cottage in Wales, in the mountains of Wales for holiday? So the host or the person says, yes, yes, my friend, go and stay in my house, and there's a fridge full of butter and fruit and vegetables all waiting there. Go and enjoy yourself. You go, you enjoy your weekend, stay there, and when you are leaving, what do? Oh, there was a pound of butter in the fridge. When I'm leaving, I put 2 pounds of butter, so that next guest comes or my host comes back, doesn't find the fridge empty. We have to treat ourselves on this earth as if we were guests. We were guests here. Tread lightly on the earth as guests. We are guests of God's. And so plenty of fruit and vegetables and trees and minerals and resources are in the fridge of great gods in this earth. You can take it, but when you leave, replenish it. Leave it back full, so that your next generations, when they come, your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they don't find this fridge of earth empty. That is the idea of replenishment. If you take one tree and plant one another tree, that's replacement. There's a difference between replacement and replenishment. In replenishment, you make it plentiful. Earth always replenishes itself. You plant one little seed of apple in the ground, and what happens? Year after year after year, hundreds of years, that tree gives you fruit, thousands and thousands of apples every year. That is replenishment. We can learn that from nature. So yajna is the replenishment of the earth. Now, we have also not only taken from the earth, but we have also taken from society. We have inherited so much wealth, so much culture, so much religious philosophy. How grateful we are to the Buddha, to Jesus Christ, to Muhammad, to St. Francis, to Krishna, to Tolstoy, to Shakespeare, to Beethoven, to Van Gogh. Wonderful buildings, wonderful architecture, wonderful art, writing, poetry, everything we have received. If we were mere consumers, we can just enjoy the Shakespeare play and say, how wonderful Shakespeare. But if we have an attitude of replenishment, that is called dana. You give back. So when you are moved to write a poem, you write a poem. And that is your replenishment, your contribution in this great flow of literature of society. You paint a painting not to become famous, not to become rich and sell in plenty, or have your name in art galleries and in the newspapers reviewed, and you become famous. That is not the purpose. The meaning and purpose of art and work and whatever we do is to replenish. So there is a great pool of literature and culture and heritage is never coming to an end, never going to dry, because we put our contribution in it. And so river always keeps flowing. Little streams join in as always full of water. And therefore any thirsty visitor, a walker, a traveler can sit by this river and drink from this river of great literature and great art and great music and great painting and great architecture and great philosophy and great religion and everything else. That is the replenishment. The meaning of work is absolutely lost in our modern society. We think the work is something like a drudgery. Work is something you have to do to earn your living, to pay the bills. That is totally misplaced meaning. The meaning of work is to fulfill yourself, to fulfill your society, to replenish the society. So everything you do, I learned that from my mother. My mother was a wonderful woman, and she did everything like a work of art. But she never knew the word art. She believed in the philosophy of great Indian philosopher Kumar, who said that artist is not a special kind of person, but every person is a special kind of artist. Now imagine that. Art is not a special kind of person. Artist is not a special kind of person, but every person is a special kind of artist. So whatever we do, if we do it well, if we do with the attitude of an artist, with our heart in it, our mind in it, our soul in it, and we put everything in it, it becomes art. Whether it is preparing evening's meal, or making shoes, preparing your clothes, or whatever. So my mother used to make these beautiful embroidery with mirror work. Not little mirrors on your skirt or on your shawl. And she would say that this is what I have learned from the honey bee. What does honey bee do? She used to say to me, Satish, we human beings are very arrogant. We think that we can do everything. We are the superior beings in nature. But we have to be a little humble. Look at honey bee, what it does. Honey bee takes only a little nectar from each flower. Never ever, mother would say, never ever a flower has complained that a honeybee came and took all my nectar away. Has it? Never complained. But we human beings go somewhere, find something to mine, or keep mining until it is all exhausted. And then what does honeybee do what it has taken from the flower? It takes only little, but what it takes, it transforms. It transforms what it has taken into sweet, delicious, healthy, nutritious honey. How many humans can do that? Mother used to do that. Mother used to make these beautiful skirts and shawls with mirror work with her needle. And she would say, the needle is the smallest tool ever made. The smallest tool. And with this needle, like honeybee taking a little nectar, this needle you put with the thread and a small piece of broken mirror which you have just saved and recycled, and put it on the cloth, and slowly, like honeybee takes long time to make a spoonful of honey, doesn't it? It doesn't rush into mass production. My mother would never rush into mass production. She would take 6 months, 3 months, 2 months to make one piece of something. My sister would say, Mother, you are taking so long. Could we buy you a sewing machine? And mother would say, why sewing machine? Is this needle not good enough? Mother, my sister would say, it will save your time. Time? What do you mean time? When God made time, He made plenty of it. Why do you want to save time? Isn't it crazy idea, mother would say, that we are trying to save time which is infinite? Is there a shortage of time? No. Time is infinite. And what you are trying to use and not save is resources, minerals, metal, energy, coal, oil, all the things which we are using to save time. We are saving something which is infinite time, and we are not saving something which is finite, which we need to save. Now that was the ecology and the way of replenishment of my mother. And she had never heard of this word called ecology or environment or global warming or ozone layer or all these fancy words which we have nowadays. And we think the moment you utter these words and write articles and books about it, you have achieved ecology. That is the confusion we have in our minds, that the moment you say, oh, we should be sustainable development and sustainable society, as if that is sustainability. Sustainability was to use a needle and turn that piece of cloth into something work of art like honey. So that way you replenish the society. It never comes to dry, and that is called dana. Dana. Yajna is replenishment of nature. Dana is replenishment of society, social heritage. And the third word is tapas. And tapas means replenishment of the soul. Because you have also, like you have inherited and you have used earth, and you have inherited and you are using the culture and religion and philosophy for our growth and benefit and enlightenment, we are also using our own self. We need to replenish ourselves. If Jesus Christ say, love your neighbor as yourself, you have to start to love yourself too. You can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. So to replenish yourself, you perform tapas. Tapas is to have time for yourself, time to meditate, time to go in solitude, walking along the river, watching the flowers bloom, sitting by the water, watching it flow, looking at the birds, seeing them fly, without thinking. It was a very good quote from Einstein, which Mani quoted today. Thinking is not enough, because mind and thinking cannot solve the problems it creates. And you know, the mind is the most efficient machine ever created to create problems. Most efficient machine, because it does not take any other raw material. It uses itself to create, produce. Mass production of problems is created by mind. No factory can produce as many things as mind can. But one drawback of that is that it can produce, it knows how to produce problems, but it does not know how to solve them. It is like a story of, what is it, Abhimanyu? Abhimanyu was a warrior, son of Arjuna. And there was a battle line formed, and he knew, because he had heard the story when he was in the womb of his mother, he knew how to break into the battlefield. What is that battlefield called? Chakravyu. How to break into that battlefield. But he didn't know how to come out of it. Because by the time the story was told, mother was distracted, or she did not hear how to come out of it. So the half story, he knew how to get into it. So the mind is like that. Mind knows how to create problems, but not solve them. So, what can do to solve the problems? What is the method of solving the problems? That is tapas. So, if you give yourself some time and allow your soul to grow, like you lie down in the night to relax and rest. Do you know the people who are osteopaths and people who know about body, Alexander technique and so on will know that during the daytime your body shrinks about half an inch or quarter of an inch, shrinks, so that in the night you sleep, lie on your back flat, and it expands back into your proper shape. That is replenishment of the body which we received during the sleep. That's why the Alexander technique people always advise you to lie flat during the daytime for 10 minutes so that your vertebrae and your body can expand back into your proper shape. But if you do not have time to lie down in Alexander technique, how do you replenish your body, and how you replenish your mind, and how you replenish your soul? So there is no contradiction between social action, ecological action, political action, spiritual action. All those things are continuum of one great meaning of existence, one great meaning of life. And when we are able to make all those integrated, interrelated, interdependent, then we understand how the whole cosmic existence is interdependent. Now science is coming to prove it, because someone like James Lovelock, who has come up with this theory of Gaia, who says from scientific point of view that the whole Earth, whole Gaia planet, is one living organism, interdependent, interrelated, interconnected, one living system. Unfortunately, no university, no college in Britain will touch Gaia hypothesis to study, because they think it's too fringe, too peripheral. Maybe James Lovelock has gone a bit crazy. He was a scientist, but now he has become a bit mystic. So we have to do something to study these things. So we have established Schumacher College in Dartington, so that the kind of new holistic thinking we need to study and understand and live, which cannot be found somewhere else, can be studied and lived and practiced. So for the last, it's a new college at Dartington. 18 months ago we established it. And first scholar in residence at Schumacher College was James Lovelock. And then similarly, other, like ecological economics of Manfred Max Neef, Hazel Henderson, many other, Schumacher himself, who put Buddhist economics together. Never a conventional economist before Schumacher put Buddhism and economics together in one phrase. He wrote his famous essay, Buddhist Economics. But no university, no economics department, no London School of Economics will study small is beautiful or Buddhist economics. So we need, instead of cursing the darkness, it is better to light a candle. It is better to start an example, a project where you can do something positive rather than just condemn the universities and colleges and governments and all the establishments and say everything what's being done is bad, but what can we do? So it is our challenge to bring about that new kind of society. I mean, it was very lovely to hear from children's letters, Mr. Major, what are you going to do when our cans are by the river and the beak might get stuck in the cans? But Mr. Major is going to do nothing. You could see that in Rio. The people were leading the campaign and politicians were lagging behind. In Rio, all government leaders were trying to water down the declarations. If somebody wants to mention population, countries will say, no, 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 you can't mention population. If somebody wants to mention fossil fuel or oil consumption, Saudi Arabia will stand and say, no, no, you can't mention that. If you want to mention biodiversity and rights of the indigenous people, Mr. Bush and his representatives and delegates will stand up and say, no, 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 you can't mention that. So all these government leaders missed this historic opportunity to do something together. They always watered down. They were there to protect not the environment, but their vested interest. That's what they were doing. But in the global forum, which you have there, global forum, together we will do it. That was the People's Forum. And there, the Dalai Lama, whose picture you saw, was there. Jacques Cousteau, the diver, was there. Many, many other people's representatives were there, and they were leading the campaign. That we have to do it. And when people lead, governments will follow. So it is our task and our challenge, and people who have come to this conference, and people who are kindred spirit to us, We have to create a new culture, a new life, a new way of running our society and our economy, so that our future generations can say, thank goodness in the 90s and early part of the 21st century, there were some wise people who created this new culture. So that is our contribution to replenishment. I think I'll stop here. Perhaps we will have some questions and discussions here. Thank you very much.